crisis into two things. We converted a crisis into an opportunity to relearn, to re-examine, to introspect. And we also did another thing. We made sure that our people were aligned. Sometimes what happens is the communication between people is very, very weak. The communication between company and its employees is weak, which is one of the other things that I would stress on the event industry. Keep your people close to you. This is the time when they're the most fragile. This is the time when they most want that holding hand. This is the time when they want succor, they want relief. They don't want to be left in the lurch. So I'm saying if you're able to do these things, and we discovered with Coca-Cola, when we did those things, we did them with precision, but more connect between the brand and the consumer, and then see
Mr. Seth, we're losing some part of the connection. I just want you to little repeat last few lines. We lost your connection.
I said, what brands, the best brands are the ones that wrap themselves in empathy, trust, sincerity, and excellence. When a brand does that, a brand then rides high. You must imagine yourselves and you must project yourselves in the event industry to be those first responders who have care, compassion, and concern. You can't be unconcerned about the client's fiscal health and only be compassionate and caring. So it has to be a mix of all the three. And once you combine all three, you will realize that you're on a winning spree. And then you guys can take me out for an expensive dinner. Or one of those fancy Deepak Chaudhary's house parties that Deepak Pawar was mentioning.
Always welcome. I think let's move to, we've seen this overall, we are a small pie in the, I won't say small anymore, but in the overall media and entertainment pie. And media and entertainment industry is going through, one part is the Netflix of the world are doing better, some part is going tough. How will that equation how will we take that as a positivity? Will we use that opportunity in your mind? How we can maximize through co-working together with the media and entertainment industry?
See, the truth is, and let's be honest, once everything reopens and restarts, you will find everyone jostling on their own initiatives. If you think people will combine forces and all, don't be under that illusion. I think everyone will fight for that pie. What the event industry has to do, it has to be the first of the block. The event industry must write to the WPPs and the Publicis of the world, saying that it's a time for us to come together. It's not a time for us to, bash each other or outplay each other or outperform each other. You must encourage co-opetition, not competition. Once you do that, and you have to do that through multiple ways, you must reach out to CEOs of advertising agencies. You must reach out to CEOs of media buying agencies. You must also reach out to associations. You must reach out to the FICCIs, to the CIIs. You must reach out to the government, within the government to the Niti Aayog through Amitabh Kant. You must reach out to the tourism ministry and tell people that, look, we are here to help brand India recover. Remember one thing, Deepak, if the event industry does it right, and I have a lot of faith, a lot of admiration for our Indian event management industry, you will be the first people, you will be the first beacon of light that we will see after things.
I think your bandwidth, again, we've lost you a little, your bandwidth is a little low. Can we get you in, Mr. Seth? So your bandwidth is low. Can we? We're losing you because of your bandwidth issue there. If you can just little improve that.
Hey,
okay, now you're on again. No, there was a challenge earlier, but now you're on again. So
okay, is it working now?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take one in between question of one of the question being asked. Acquisitions like the WPP, and Lalit Gatani has asked this question, and Lalit is a senior person in our industry. And when WPP and Dentsu, etc., already have acquired event agencies, so where's the scope for event guys? If you want to, since you are advertising ad man, we call, and how you suggest this one?
I mean, it's a self prophecy. Take the example of Amazon and Gophers and all these people. The Kirana stores are doing much better.
Okay. I'm going to move to government. You mentioned government. What is a supportive role government will play in these times? What do you think for event industry?
I don't think
being close to the government. So
I don't think government will play a substantively proactive role right now. They've got a lot of fires to extinguish, but you need to park your concerns with the government. You need to also park your concerns with chambers of commerce, because the chambers of commerce have a far greater line of access or a line of control, in a manner of speaking, over government. So don't expect the government to do any bailouts for the event industry. They've got too many fires to worry about. And truth be told, they are a bit clueless right now, because this is something that no one prepares for. These are life inflections which come to us as a shock. No country anywhere in the world is prepared for this kind of a shock. So the government also must be told in a gentle manner, and they will only listen to you if you make it a made for India proposition rather than made for the event industry proposition.
Okay. What is little bit industries? I want to see if opportunists, we want to see this as an opportunity. What are the industries which will grow, and we can all, as event managers, look at those industries as opportunities?
I think retail will grow manifold. Online digital platforms will grow manifold. Domestic tourism will grow a lot. You will also see a resurgence in the two-wheeler sector, not so much in the four-wheel automotive sector as much as you would imagine, but you will see a lot of these sectors improve because these sectors are, to my mind, low contact sectors, as well as sectors which have low capital infusion sectors, as it were. I mean, people will go out and buy a motorcycle easier than they will buy a car, in a manner of speaking. IT will continue to be a very important sector. Telecom will continue to be a very, very critical sector. In fact, telecom will grow manifold. So I see organized and disorganized retail. I see telcos. I see the two-wheeler industry. I see financial services all growing. Even the financial advisory services growing. So the Edelweises, the banks, the investment banks, the boutiques will all be great. Healthcare will grow manifold. So, pharma companies on the back of that will also grow. So, your pharma conferences, hospital chains, healthcare brands will again get a lot of fillip post the lockdown, or post Corona, as it were.
Yeah, well said. Just Sunil Kutti has a question where he says, "Why you mentioned retail? Why you think retail will grow?"
Because people will continue to shop at what I would call, will shop for low value items. Actually, I must correct myself. High value retail will suffer. Multiplexes will suffer. Food courts will suffer. Restaurants and bars will suffer. But low value, high volume retail will work. Let me give you an example. Spencer's has recorded the highest sales in the last 20 days than they've ever done. Reliance Fresh, very high sales. Now, you could say people are hoarding, people are stocking up, but these are low value, high volume purchases. So I see that happening. I see the farm and the agricultural sector bounce back with great efficacy. I see a lot of dining out dying. More and more people will dine in. More and more people will go to homes. And I'm not only talking about the rich and the elite, but I'm saying as a rule, we will not congregate as much as we did, which is why long distance air travel will suffer. People will not want to be on long flights, cooped up. So these are the things that are bound to happen. Some airlines
Again,
go for a toss.
okay. So same. The question with Rohit is asking why pharma also. You mentioned pharma. One
Because
line on that.
because people will need medicines. Remember one thing, medicines, edibles, and entertainment normally don't go out of fashion. Healthcare doesn't go out of fashion. So, healthcare brands which have been put in the spotlight because of either the good work they've done or the help they've provided the community will continue to work. And remember, there are underlying illnesses which no one in India has been talking about, neither the government, nor individuals, nor healthcare experts. These underlying illnesses will now come to the fore when COVID actually plays on that underlying illness rather than just attacks it individually or directly.
Well said. Okay, so Kanthil has a question. What do you see the future of employment with overdose of knowledge consultants across all sectors?
I
So it's
think
a
yes,
he's rightly asking a question from
I
you.
don't know if you're screwing me with that, but
That's what.
well, consultants will do very well depending on which kind of consultant you are. No, but on a serious note, I think it's a very, very good question. Consultants will play an important role provided consultants are able to balance two things. One is greater brand revenue with lower brand spend. So, where there is lower capital infusion but higher brand recall and higher brand revenue, those kind of consultants will do well. I'm right now making an offer. I'll give EEMA a 20% discount whenever you guys hire.
Okay. Another well said. Anirban had a question. Post lockdown, will brands act defensive and hold on their budgets, or they will spend more on ad campaigns and marketing to get back into the market?
It's an excellent question. I always tell people when when the pie is small, you need to advertise more rather than advertise less. So it depends. And Deepak, here is where scale and size will come into play. There'll be some brands that will use this and use the free money that they have. Brand like Amazon, brands which are funded by the soft banks of the world, where they have no concern for the money. They're going to burn money. But most people, see, understand one thing. Indians, if there are Indians running those companies, by nature, we are conservative. We are not great risk takers, which is why we may have great software companies, but we still didn't create a Facebook or a Google. That's because risk taking capacity in us is weak. You know, we are a great country where we'd say, yeah, it's better for my money to be in a fixed deposit, which is why only 1.2% of your population is invested in stocks and shares. So you've got to understand the Indian psyche. The first thing for companies will be how do you retain your people and not retrench? Because remember, there's a cost to training those people. You know, it's easy to say, yeah, okay, if I'm in trouble, let me sack people. But it's very difficult to get trained people in most industries. So I think a lot of clients will worry about two things. They will not want to spend on what I call non essential things like vanity events or vanity projects. I'm excluding weddings because weddings will continue to do well as long as people are stupid enough to get married. So let's put weddings separately. But a lot of the vanity events will go out of play. Number two, the media is going to bleed. Television, print, radio will bleed like you can't imagine. And it's very difficult for them to, kind of suddenly sack people because already most of them are at the lowest capacity levels because they've done that sacking about 6, 8, 10 months ago. So I think events can gain if events keeps its people close and rationalizes expenditure both within the company and qua the clients. So that's a call that we'll have to take. But yes, will times be tough? Of course they'll be tough. Will people be conservative about spending? Of course. They will want to conserve cash rather than spend that money. Because remember, you're talking about the last quarter of 1920 and the first quarter or the first 2 to 3 quarters of 2021 getting impacted. So a lot of it will depend on that. But having said all of this, look at the irony of India. The the markets are up, industry is down, no one is consuming as much as we thought they would, but the stock market continues to rise. I think the people who are on Dalal Street live on another goddamn planet.
That's true. Well said. Okay, Pramod Lunawat has a question. Do you, Mr. Seth, agree that celebrations, assemblies, and gathering are in our Indian DNA, and these may be postponed, but will never be cancelled?
I
It is
100%,
only a matter of time.
I 100% agree. You think people are going to invite only 10 people for a wedding? They might as well kill themselves. You think people are going to stop having birthdays for their 3-year-old brat? Not at all. They will postpone. See, remember the beauty about India, and I want to take you through a very quick history lesson. Why did we warm up to Sonia Gandhi? Because essentially we are Italian. And remember what William Shakespeare said brilliantly in Julius Caesar. And Caesar said, when the play Julius Caesar opens, he sees this entire march of people behind him, Marullus, Flavius, all saying, wow, hail Caesar, hail Caesar. And Caesar makes a point, and Shakespeare reflects on that. He says, these are fickle people. And then he goes on to say, during the play, he says, the good is oft interred with the bones, the evil lives long after. So all the good things that we've learned about social distancing, about keeping ourselves away from harm's way, all these things we will forget. We will come back to our ways. We will come back to doing things like we did. You're not going to have people stop celebrating. I mean, you had idiots when they were asked to light a diya, they burned firecrackers. You think they'll stop Diwali? You think they won't throw color next year in Holi? Nothing stops India. I'll leave you with an excellent thought. I mean, we're not ending now. I'm just giving you the thought.
Yeah.
India is like the bumblebee. Aerodynamically, the bumblebee isn't supposed to fly because the size of the bumblebee. But the bumblebee doesn't know that, so it flies happily. If you go by all the yardsticks of success, India should have failed in 1951. But no Indian cares. We are all Ram Bharose. It's working, so it will continue to work. So Pramod asked that question, right?
Right.
So Pramod, don't worry. You will continue to be invited to a gala celebration. You will attend a wedding where you may not remember the name of the bride and the groom. That will continue in India. That's the India we will all look forward to sooner rather than later.
No, the question is for the social. We've got a large audience of people who are in the wedding industry, and they're also asking what will happen to destination weddings and so on.
Weddings will do well. The Samit Gargs and the Vandana Mohans will continue to make tons of money because people are not going to stop getting married. And when they do get married, they don't want only 10 of their ugly neighbors to know. They want the whole world. So I don't think weddings are going to stop. I don't think birthday celebrations are going to stop. In fact, I genuinely believe, and that's why I made that serious comment, that there will be greater domestic travel. There'll be greater domestic spends. So you may not have many destination weddings. I mean, outside India. You will certainly have a lot of it here. B, we are the nation of Jugaad. We will find a way to include social distancing and yet have a celebratory wedding. I mean, other than socially distance the bride and the groom, I think we'll find a way for everything else.
Okay. Gur Kripal Singh has a question. What will be the role, which is immediate or future, of event companies operating in small cities? So a lot of small city event managers have joined us. So if you want to leave a word of thought for them, in Calcutta also, more particularly people asking from Calcutta.
I don't call Calcutta a small city yet. Calcutta is a throbbing metropolis. I was born and raised there. My first love remains Calcutta. It's the most civilized city on the planet. Calcutta
we wanted your passion to come out. That's why I said small.
Calcutta will continue to see events here. Calcutta is not a small city. Remember what Calcutta thought today, India thought tomorrow, but that has changed since. But I don't think, in fact, to my mind, strategically, small cities will do even better. Because see, one of the things that's going to happen is advertising and marketing is going to get even more islanded. It's going to get even more insulated, both by geography and by target market. Once that happens, brands will want event management companies, as I said to you at the beginning of my talk, will want event management companies to be that last mile connectivity between the brand and the consumer. So small city event managers don't need to worry. They'll do very well. Besides, their costs are much lower than the so-called big city event companies. So hopefully their margins will be more robust.
Kanthil has another question. I would like to know, on a different note, your idea on the fallacy of lockdown. Don't you think we will be much safer with herd immunity? Isn't this a bloody huge conspiracy?
Okay, I have a view. My view is very simple. I believe the lockdown was essential. And I've said it publicly, I've said it on BBC. The reason why lockdown is essential is because we are not a disciplined country. You tell an Indian to stand in line, his first question will be, but why? You will find the most adroit of people breaking curfew zones. I think what was necessary, and here the questioner has a point, the mechanism with which it has been done could have perhaps been done better. It's like demonetization. What is going to happen and why lockdown was necessary? I've been speaking to very, very senior ministers in the government. The lockdown was essential to stem the flow into our hospitals. It was to prevent the healthcare system from completely keeling over and crashing. What the lockdown has done is it has managed for us, I mean, for the government, to look at containment zones and therefore create insulation. If that hadn't happened, there'd have been chaos. So, to my mind, if you ask me honestly, I think the lockdown was necessary, is necessary. I've said on Twitter that it should be extended till the 30th of April. My feeling is that it'll go up to the middle of May. The fallout of this is very tragic because the migrant workers, the daily wages will be severely hit. Unemployment is at its highest. We're talking about 43 million, which is huge. So, these are some serious issues which the government will have to contend with. But I don't think the lockdown could have been avoided. It was like a Joseph Heller catch 22 situation. Damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
Okay, some questions on rural marketing and tourism industry. Both these different questions. If you want to just take on a few minutes on these two.
As I said, rural marketing will increase, will improve once the markets open, once the lockdowns are lifted. That's where the volume of cash is. That's where volume-based consumption is. Tourism, I said that at the beginning of my remarks, domestic tourism will get a huge fillip. Domestic tourism will get a huge boost. People want to travel within the country for two reasons: proximity, shorter distances to cover, less cost, and people will stay away, to my mind, from international travel. Italy, France, and Germany have already sealed their borders for the next 6 months. The UK is in trouble. The US, we all know. So I don't think people will be in a hurry to undertake international travel, nor will the government in a hurry open international routes for flights.
Okay, I'm going to just take the session to a different direction now. Let's hear something more, how you're spending time, what books you're reading, what content you're watching, what music you're listening. I want to spend some time on that, maybe guide us or direct us to some of that. And maybe we can hear something from you.
See,
and you've done 167 plays you've been part of.
I'm not the best person. I'm not the best person. We have a very weird kind of choice. So let's start with music. I think the most soulful music, and I listen to it every day, so the lockdown is no different. So I start my day with Om Namo Bhagavate by Jasraj, and I think Pandit Jasraj's rendition is just fantastic. I then listen to Kishori Amonkar, Shobha Gurtu. I listen a lot to Bhimsen Joshi, to Ajoy Chakrabarti. I then switch immediately to Western classical, where my favorites are Strauss, Wagner, and Bach, not Beethoven, not Mozart. And then I read a book a day. So the current book, the book that I finished yesterday was Shah of Shahs by Raizad Kapuczynski. Just type Shah of Shahs. It's a brilliant book written by this Polish author on the Shah of Iran. Some of the other books that I've read during the lockdown are by Harold Evans, Do I Make Myself Clear? In Pursuit of Probity, which tells you about how our IS system works. It's by a guy called D.S. Bagga, who's passed away. The constant book that I love, which is by my side all my life, is this. It's Churchill. I don't think there's a better person than Winston Churchill to help you pass your time. It's called The Wit and Witticism of Churchill. And then I've read Abhishek Singhvi, Manu Singhvi, the lawyer's book, From the Trenches. I have now revisited all the classics. So I'm revisiting Robert Frost. I'm revisiting the poets. I'm re-examining Gora. by Tagore. So I have a very eclectic choice. What do I watch? So I watch a lot of documentaries. I also watch a lot of series. My wife and I have been watching Sopranos all over again. We've been seeing, we're waiting for Fauda, which should happen today. We are seeing Ozark. We've seen this documentary called Tiger King. I've been seeing the latest seasons of Billions. Uh, yeah, lots of odds and ends. Sorry, I haven't been seeing Ramayan.
Well, you've seen it before, so.
And I've stopped seeing the news because how much can I take of my good friend Arnab?
You love him.
No, I love it. It gets depressing every day. You need perk up shows.
Yeah, you've always said they should rather let the speakers speak or not let them. They should speak less.
I call it the Shekhar Gupta syndrome. Shekhar Gupta always talks more than the people he questions.
Yeah, correct. Okay, the little one Siddharth Ganeriwala's question. We've answered this in some part, but your take on the economy and when do we see the silver of hope?
I think the sliver of hope will be around October, November, if everything goes well by June. If by June we are sorted on, say, 80% of the issues, the economy is in a bad way, and it will remain bad for the next 4 years. And why do I say this? Every 1% of GDP lifts 10 million above the line of poverty. Our GDP has come down from what they used to say about 8.2%. We are today averaging 2.3%. No matter what people may say in government, whether they lie or they don't lie. But the fact is, our GDP is in a very abysmal way. Number one. Number two, the government doesn't have a choice but to print currency. They cannot afford not to inject a stimulus of various kinds. If that happens, and if the fiscal deficit dips, which it will, what you will see is further inflation. So these are serious economic issues that we must contend with. So where is the sliver of hope? The sliver of hope is India has by and large always remained insulated from global headwinds because it has had tremendous domestic consumption. So I think domestic consumption will be a good thing. Where I also see a sliver of hope, or I see a lot of stuff happening, is we will continue to have some sectors outperform others. Also, banks will be now forced to lend to MSMEs. See, the bulwark of India is not in its large size or large sector companies. It's in its MSMEs. They form, to my mind, the base of that pyramid of hope or the pyramid of prosperity. Actually, that's a nice phrase. The pyramid of prosperity, the base is the MSME. It's the small and medium-sized enterprise. And if that medium-sized enterprise is allowed to fail, then we are in trouble.
Okay, well said. Okay, so now just one or two questions coming on corporate events. What's your take on Nouri's asked this question? How do you see corporate events will and the related question is, as Anirban has asked, digital will grow. Okay, digital platforms are growing. Will that reduce the work on a corporate events, and how both these things can be touched upon?
Not at all. It's the classic argument. I sat on the global board of British Airways for 6 years, almost 10 years ago. And everyone used to say in those days, oh, if there's VC, if there's Skype, if there's this, if there's that, will air travel reduce? It didn't. So it's not a this or that. These are not mutually exclusive things that are going to happen. What you're going to see, and this is very important for me to tell you this, is there are consumptions by consumers in various verticals. You and I consume digital in one way, we consume print in another, we consume television in another. It's not that we consume everything in the same frame. You will buy your atta, your dal, you will buy your oil, perhaps online, but you will never buy gold jewelry online. You will still want to go to the outlet. You will still want to go to a shop for certain things, which is why if events are done well, and to come back to the topic, if events are done well and done strategically, you will be the marketing disruptor for brands. You will be that disruptive tool that will help brands catapult from their somnambulance, from their slumber, which is enforced by Corona, into what I would call a more robust playing field where they can make money.
I got it. Let's spend some more time on marketing, like going back to how event guys can come out better marketers, or in what are those tools we should use? You are an expert on PR in these times to better our overall organization, to better go rightly to our clients. What should we do in the marketing standpoint?
Okay, let me give you a
We
playbook.
we are not engaging you as a consultant. You have to tell us all now.
No, I'll give you 3 or 4 points,
Right.
and obviously the rest I'll leave for later. And I'm just number one, first prepare what I would call the Events Association white paper for rebuilding brand India. Call it that. Number two, within that, talk about the issues that brand India faces. Number three, within those issues, highlight the role that event companies can play. So the roles are A, B, C. A, you are the last mile connectivity. B, you're a multi-skilled, multi-talent employer. And C, you understand consumer behavior, and therefore you have greater empathy, greater understanding of both market, consumer. So that is, to my mind, very, very important. The third thing is you have to ensure that you create within EEMA a team of maximum 2 or 3 people who then write to governments both at the state and center. Do not ignore the state governments. The state governments are becoming more and more important. It's the state governments that are forcing the hand of Modi for extension of lockdowns. So remember, state governments have more at stake than the central government has. So create that team. And number four, make sure that EEMA does, to my mind, strategic PR, which talks about two things. One is how you believe brand India will recover, recalibrate, and rejuvenate. And number two, what is the role that event companies can play both within and without? Means within terms of aiding the government and
Right.
aiding.
Okay, another Harjinder Singh Jindi is asking a question. It is believed that corporate will prefer a non-MSME registered companies because of various regulations enforced by government. What is your thought on that?
I think Jindi is right. That's going to happen, but there are too many balls up in the air, so the jury is still out. But yes, a corporate will prefer a non-MSME registered entity because of the problem with India is we infest and inject so much of goddamn paperwork into everything we do that we make it unattractive for people to do business. So there I completely agree.
Okay, Siddharth has a question again, which generally says, do you think the current finance minister will get India to the shore, or who will be the ideal choice? Just a political question.
I have no idea, but I can tell you one thing. If you think Nirmala Sitharaman is running the finance ministry, then think again. Everything is being
that's the answer, actually.
Yeah. Everything. No minister is running anything. The prime minister and the prime minister's office is running India. If you think Nirmala Sitharaman is running India, then you might as well think that I'm the Pope.
Well said. Okay, can we look at the history? I'm saying you're a historian and you've read a lot, and you guys, Mr. Seth reads a book a day. Okay, so all us as event managers, I'm saying start reading. If that's an example we can take from him. Can we look at history on how human and government will react?
Human beings are always more resilient. See, so you must read this book that I told you, Shah of Shahs. Forget the historical aspect of the Shah of Iran. It says a lot about us as human beings and about governments. People hate aggressiveness of authority, and authority hates people who are constantly complaining. But authority has a way of ignoring people who complain. So we're living in very troubled times. Humanity has always shown resilience. That's the basis of human evolution. And I'm not even referring to Darwin. I'm saying, look at what Churchill did. What did Netaji say? How did Churchill become the wartime prime minister that he was? Not because he won the war, but he won your mind. He made you believe that you could win. He could tell people that, yes, you can win. What did Kennedy do in his inaugural address? He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. What did Ronald Reagan say when he took over as president? You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come. So if you go into history, and if you look at our own history, please study Manu Smriti. Now, Manu was a misogynist, but in Manu Smriti, he talks about Daan way before Warren Buffett and Bill Gates discovered charity, or way before they discovered philanthropy. The Birlas and the Tatas were doing Daan and charity long before. Our whole concept of architecture was based on community welfare. If you look, the Angan was a place of meeting. The Angan was a place of, today you have Anganwadi, but Angan per se, if you look at human architecture, why were our temples built the way they were? Why were the churches built the way they were? Why did the Shias and the Sunnis have the kind of polarization that they did? So you only have to study human history to see two things will happen. Human beings will triumph. That's part of our DNA. Number two, governments will understand the nuances of human behavior. See, governments are not impervious to understanding human sentiment, or for that matter, national sentiment. So they will become. What you and I have to do as responsible citizens is make sure that we do three things right. Number one, we keep country first, community second, and ourselves third. If we can do these three things right, the world is ours.
Completely. Okay, some fast questions. Something. What is expected salary and job cuts, especially in our industry? Sudarshan has asked this question.
I don't know about the events industry, but
I think there is again a connection problem at your end. Yeah, now you're back. You can answer that again.
I see.
Okay, again, there is a challenge. There is a challenge.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's fine. Go on.
I said you should expect at least a 30% cut by and large across the board in terms of salaries. And I do see retrenchment happening, especially in the non-essential categories. Consultants will be retained.
Okay. This is a question from Krita Mukherjee from Encore Events, Calcutta. What would be the first step we should do who are in the marketing department to generate revenue for the company, knowing that the government will not allow big scale events and gathering as of now?
That's exactly what I said. If you remember what I said the strategy note should prepare and include that you're cognizant of social distancing, and keeping that in mind, you've created that. A. B. Deepak Pawar was telling me about this whole EEMA live, and I mentioned this to you in our conversation last evening. I think more and more digital properties and digital proprietary events will work exceedingly well, and you should focus on that. So, you can earn revenue. It's not that it's revenue less, but these are the challenges we will face. See, to be fair, for me to say, oh, this is what it will be, is also equally stupid, because I'm not a soothsayer. You will have to induce and include a lot of flexibility in the way you approach businesses, the way you approach clients, all of that.
Okay, one more question, no name there. What do you think about digital marketing and branding in this situation, and what are the best practices?
And best practices, I'll need a whole day, but obviously digital communication is critical. It's critical only for two reasons. One is it is a non-contact means of communication, and number two is it's very empowering to a lot of people who want to remain anonymous but still have a voice. So to that end, it plays a particular role. But if you think that digital will totally replace all other forms of media, my answer is no, it won't.
Okay. So Vipul Pandi from Delhi has asked a question. 3 areas we as event entrepreneurs need to focus on when we open our offices and the lockdown is behind us.
One is look after your people. Number two, don't wait till the lockdown is over to reach out to your clients. Call your clients every day if you can and ask them what they're doing, and also say how you can help. Ask how you can help. Number three is make sure that once you've reopened, you keep health, hygiene, and morale at the highest levels. That will be a critical discriminator for the better people from the worse. It'll be a great discriminator.
Okay. Arun from Hyderabad, from Traditions Event Management. What do you think will happen to the exhibition industry?
I think the exhibition industry will be hurt at least till the end of this year. But as I told you, we in India will forget, and there will be more. There'll be vaccines, there'll be medical cures. I don't think it's going to linger beyond that. But yes, in the short term, it will be hit. And it won't be hit because of the clients. Governments will go out of the way to prevent this from happening. Governments will not want to suffer. Governments will not want to face the criticism that they allowed something like this to happen, which caused another, health hazard.
Okay, a suggestion of yours. How can you how you can see artists and performers? A lot of artists and performers are attending this. How they should take the future, and any tips for them? Sudarshan has asked this question.
I think just keep practicing what you're good at, and make sure you don't lose that spirit, and do more digital. Look at what Lady Gaga did. Look at what some of our Indian artists are doing. 18 of them or 20 of them. They're doing an online concert. I'm saying immediately change your focus from waiting for the customer to being with the customer, or client, or consumer, or spectator, whoever it is.
Okay, I want to take this as a last question. I think thank you for doing this for us. I think it's given us how to fight this from crisis. Leave your last words for all of us at event industry. We are hustlers. We will come back. But what are your closing words for all of us?
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay optimistic. There's a lot worse that could have happened to you. We could have all been dead. We're not. We could all have been people who would have suffered grievously. Count your blessings that we are in surroundings that are sterile, that have prevented us from falling ill. Live and learn. Use this as a huge learning opportunity. Reinvent, recalibrate your mind. Remember, as I said earlier, most battles are won in the mind and lost there as well. So we've got a great thing going. India has survived millennia. We've survived invaders, we've survived attackers, we've survived usurpers, we've survived corrupt politicians, we've survived our goddamn parliament for so many years. This too shall pass. But make it happy. Don't carry your troubles home. Don't make, Deepak, in your case, your twins and the other child, 3 of them, feel miserable than they already are because of your lack of hair. Make them make them happy. Remember one thing, happy is what happy does. And if you can smile, you have nothing to worry. This too, as I said, shall pass. Read till you die. Listen to some great music. Watch whatever you can. Make sure that your mind is the sponge that it needs to be, and that you can do everything that the world wants you to do.
Thank you, Mr. Seth, for doing this. Really appreciate, and we all look forward to follow all that what you said. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you so much, Suhel. As Churchill said, if you are going through hell, keep going. And since we are in the experiential industry, we are going to use this hell to learn and also partner. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us for EEMA Future Ready workshops at 2 p.m. We have Atul Chabra joining us, founder, director, Enthuse. The topic for that session will be the fine art of negotiations. I'm Shivani Sen signing out here. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Stay safe, stay in.